All right, we're ready to go, Joe.
Okay, I'd like to call the Economic Development Commission's meeting for May to order. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2020, and roll call. But we already have that, right, Joe?
Yeah, we have
Time.
Oh, 7:31, I'm sorry.
7:31. I've got Grillo, Migliorese, Miskey, Piazzaroli, and me.
How about Charlie?
About who?
Charlie's on.
Yep.
there
Oh,
too.
Charlie. Sorry, we do have Charlie too.
Charlie's-
Okay. Beg your pardon, Charlie. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries.
Out of sight, out of mind, you know?
Okay, so do you have any public participation?
I don't see any attendees. Do you, Mike?
Zero.
There are 0 attendees, meaning people who could participate. So
Okay.
we
So
don't
I'll
have any.
Okay, so I'll close public participation.
Yes.
Okay. Approval of the minutes, that's still pending, right? We didn't get a copy of the minutes?
Oh, you didn't? Okay, yeah. They
Yeah.
were the February
Yeah.
20 was our last meeting.
Okay, so
All right,
we'll put that on. We'll put that on the next meeting.
All right.
Okay, item 5, correspondence. None.
No correspondence.
Okay, so move on to item 6, which is the Economic Development Coordinator's report. And you're on, Joe.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Working with the Watertown and Oakville Chamber of Commerce, we developed a spreadsheet for stores that were still open to go on. And we got about 20. It was posted on our website, so they did that. We met with the former owners of the Kmart property. They submitted revised plans for the renovation of the property. I think I sent those to you. Basically, they're going to move ahead on renovating the outside of the building first. It will take on a whole new look. It will be, the arches in front will be gone. They will be square doors. They'll put a little bit of I'm calling it a porch out front. So if you remember, Kmart on the far left-hand side of the building was quite elevated, lowered. It sloped downhill. And we have the plans for them, and planning and zoning so far has been satisfied with them. And we've been pretty satisfied. The tenancy is another issue because they had 6 tenants lined up, but that was before all this COVID hit. And one of them, I'm sworn to some degree of confidentiality, but one of them was something that's not going to open, and under COVID can't open until the last phase. So I don't know whether they're still going to want the space or not. So they're still entertaining client requests for rental space. So, and planning and zoning was very helpful in not requiring them to do a whole lot of things that they had talked about earlier, like repaving the parking lot and all of that. So far they've waived that. I drive through the parking lots of the major manufacturers in town, count cars just to see how the business is going. Global Steering surprised me that one day there were 4 cars in the parking lot, and the next day there were 24. And this was this week. So they must be gearing up for the auto industry's reopening, because they sell steering gears to all the automotive people. I still call it the Sandy Alvarez building over on Commercial Street. That one, the engineered centerings, they're still like 4 or 5 cars out there. So I look at it because as a tax base, if they're not doing pretty well, they're either going to not pay their taxes or go out of business. And we don't want either one of those. So I just check it daily. The folks are still developing a solar farm at the Mount Olivet Cemetery. They're talking to the town to take some of the power to get their deal with Eversource. They get some credits if the town takes some of the power, and I think we're in the very early stages of negotiating what, if we want to do it, and if we do, what it'll cost. We're still on with the CERC, although I hear very little from them now about progress. They maintain they're still working quietly on the Sealy project alone. My feeling, and it's just a gut feeling, is the other project for marketing the town is in next year's budget for $15,000. It's still in there. I hope they leave it in there. But when they start looking for cuts, which I think is going to be the goal of the town council now with reduced income, that might be in jeopardy. And if it is, I can talk with you guys and see what you want to do. I think it should stay in there, frankly.
Well, I mentioned to Joe before. I mean, I think that marketing study is probably worth more now than it was in the past. With the not knowing what the future holds for the town and all the businesses in town, I think it's critical that we try to do a marketing plan on that and try to get all those properties available. You know, everyone's talking about moving things back to the United States or, you know, moving things more locally. So we might have some properties there that could, you know, be very interesting to a few folks. And I think it's important we get all those properties out there and we make it known that we're very enthusiastically marketing those parcels. So I would fight for that 15 grand. It's not all that much money, but if we get one person to buy one plot of land, then we've paid for that report 10 times over. So
yeah.
I think it's really important.
I've been talking with Tom Hill. He has a buyer for the old O&G where the power plant was going to be. It's 33 acres. It's got a lot of wetlands on it, but he has someone who's put in an offer to buy the property. It's a construction company. So that was one of the lots that we were going to try to market. And they haven't accepted the offer yet. They're still negotiating. He also Tom Hill has listed 4 acres next to John Andrews' building on Echo Lake Road. I don't. Do you guys know where that is?
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 acres adjacent. He has a building there, and he's doing a little rock digging behind his building. And there's an additional 4 acres that he's asked Tom Hill to see if he can market. So one of the properties we thought was going to be open may not be if Hill's customer takes the offer. So, let me see here. John Gavalis had a very nice Zoom meeting with the Waterbury Chamber of Commerce, and it was free to members, and other people had to pay $50. There weren't very many people who want to pay $50 to hear Gavalis and me talk about business, I guess. So, but he did a very, very, very nice job. He's very commanding, and he's issued. I don't know whether you guys are up on it. I have to be up on it because I'm staff. But he's issued a number of executive orders. The last of which I think I attached to my report were the rules for opening outside dining. I talked with Mark Massoud yesterday, and he tells me that there are more than a dozen restaurants who have requested permission to do some outdoor dining. I saw in the newspaper today that a couple of the restaurants, the town has delivered some Jersey barriers. Joe, do you remember in Town Times?
No, but I know that I've seen some of those Jersey barriers, and some of them actually say the town of Watertown on them. Several were over at Vintage in Oakville. There's one at Ordinary Joe's. They've been scattered around town. I think there's a couple of those over by Jimmy's. So this is, I think that's really important for the town to at least, if we have some Jersey barriers kicking around, these guys are down and out, without having to go buy or rent Jersey barriers. So I think it was a great idea for the town to go out there and from a safety perspective, put those in place. And, you know, it just shows we're trying to help out where we can. And that's, you know, it didn't really cost us much of anything to do that. So.
Yeah, it was a real service, and John Gavalis again said, well, of course we'll do it at no charge.
Mhm.
So that was very, very helpful to them.
Yeah, I mean, a separate comment. I mean, all the feedback I've heard about John Gavalis has been so positive. He's, you know, he really does have his finger on the pulse of the town, and he's reacting in a very appropriate way. And I would say go above and beyond what maybe the town manager should do in some cases. But he's really interested in the business and the health of the town. So he's been really, really open-minded and very, very accommodating. So I could give him a lot of kudos for that.
Yeah, he is that. He's I guess town officials got some extraordinary powers under this COVID thing. I don't remember a town manager ever issuing an executive order for anything, frankly.
Yeah.
And he's issued 3 or 4 of them since he's been in the job, and very, very decisive. For instance, the restaurant thing. If he hadn't issued that order, they'd have to go through planning and zoning, which would have been a 60 to 90-day process. And of course, he'd been out of business by that point. So he overruled that. He's the Jersey Berries. He's been very positive. And I think that's just about all that I have in my report. We're pleased with the outside dining, and in probably June 1, John Gavalis today indicated that he thought public buildings would be open to the public again, but masks would be required. And I come fully equipped to talk to you guys this way if I have to.
Oh, good.
All right, and Joe, that's the end of my report.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, item 7, old and unfinished business. Item A, a Grillo update. I think some of you might know that Grillo was denied use of the property for the storage of mulch or the mulching operation. So I guess it's back on the market, but I understand there might be a few people looking at it already. So it's I think it was a good move by planning and zoning. Nothing bad against Grillo. You know, there may be some other spots in town that we've. I know Tom Hills reached out to Grillo and mentioned a couple other parcels that may be more appropriate. But in the middle of the industrial park, I mean, it was not at least most people didn't think it was the best use of the property. And I know Global Steering had a lot to say about that also. They produced a report via Carmody and Torrance that specifically spoke about having that type of operation in an established business park. And it carried a lot of weight with P&Z. So I applaud P&Z for that. Again, this is not a slap against Grillo. I think it would have been an interesting operation for town in the proper place, but you know, maybe lower on Echo Lake Road Extension or someplace else in town. But again, the middle of the industrial park was not the spot for a perpetual construction site. And I think there was other issues probably going to crop up anyway, particularly with Eversource. There was some back and forth about they needed access to the power lines. So I think they had some headwinds facing them. So I think it was a good move. So, Joe, you want to add anything to that, or is that about right?
Well, it was surprising to me that the vote was 6-1. I thought the vote might be more split than that, but 5 of the commissioners repeated that they did not think it was an appropriate use of for that particular location, and they did not vote on Grillo per se. They voted against the text amendment that would have allowed organic composting in all IR 80 zones. So they were saying, if we do it for one, we have to do it in every zone, and we don't want a lot of composting places all over town. So technically, the reason they denied it was they denied the authorization for a text amendment. So.
Okay. Okay, under old and unfinished, item B, that design district, Robbie, we're still, haven't forgot that. As a matter of fact, I was gonna ask Joe, now that things may be a little quiet on the P and Z level, maybe we can check with Mark and see what the status is. Because I think it's important, we want to make sure that gets done and in place. And especially it might be even more important now on a rebound, with potential new businesses coming to town or maybe spots being used. That's not fallen by the wayside. It's just, especially the last few months, it's just taken a back seat with the virus and everything. But Joe, can you check with Mark and see what the status is?
I will. Now that we're all in one building, it'd be a lot easier, and we're all here. So I'll go down. I'm taking tomorrow off because I'm a town employee, and all town employees take advantage of every opportunity to not be here. So, but I promise. Well, I won't do it on Monday either because that's Memorial Day. But I promise you, first thing Tuesday.
We'll try to squeeze it in on Tuesday.
Well, I'll try. You know, this is not easy.
I just wanted to mention really quick sorry, I meant to say with the Grillo update. I know it's not like part of why this all happened, but I'm kind of happy that it's still available. Only because I feel like you were saying, there's so many things that are going to start changing the way that, manufacturing is going, agriculture, all that stuff, because they're really realizing like they're depending on these locally produced products and produce and everything. So it's just nice that, I know you can't force it to be another farm or anything, but I just think it's a nice piece of property that is a farm already and, could potentially be used for that again. I think that might be, important.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to a friend of mine who owns a landscaping company, a fairly large landscaping company, and he's not really in the market to do this, but he thought that might be a perfect place to grow hemp.
Yeah.
And he was very interested in growing hemp. He already has a piece of property in Watertown, and he was thinking about using that to grow hemp because it's the highest cash crop you could make. And he thought, with the way that whole thing is laid out there, if you just planted all hemp there, if something happened with the power lines, you can certainly, manage to go around that in an emergency. And but that could be an outcome too, because I know that somebody has mentioned, I've heard a couple of times that there's other people interested in that property. So it could be something as simple as a hemp farm. Who knows? I don't know that for sure, but I know that there's been some very early conversations on that level.
Yeah, it's just a property to have already, like all set for that already. There's so many pieces of property that stuff can be built on that they're not going to, start agriculture all of a sudden they're not going to start a farm on that piece of property where what was that? The junk shop or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going to start a farm over there, but it's just nice that we still have that, it keeps our portfolio versatile.
Yeah.
Our property is pretty expansive, a lot of opportunities for growth. So
yeah,
I know
it was interesting. The one no vote, when he explained it, he was particularly in favor of Grillo. His argument was, hey, we've got somebody who wants this property and will pay some taxes, and something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I don't particularly agree with that, but he wasn't.
Which is absolutely the worst thing you can say in my estimation, because if a town takes that tact, you're just not going to have any rules or regulations just because something is better than nothing. And matter of fact, I think we said that in one of our meetings, Joe, that we disagree with that. We hope that they didn't go down that path, that something was better than nothing, because Joe did some preliminary work and it would not have brought very much taxes to town at all. So it really wasn't something was better than nothing, because the benefit to the town was almost nil.
It would have been approximately $15,000, which is about what a large house pays.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we already talked about item C was Kmart. The only thing I wanted to add, what Joe was mentioning, is that so when you come out of the door, or when you went in the door, came out of the door at Kmart, you went down that ramp down to the parking lot. It was a little steep incline there. But when you come out of the door now, that same grade as you come out of the door is going to be carried all the way across the front of the building.
Oh,
And what they're going to do, they're going to landscape all that there, and then at the end of that walkway, there'll be stairs to get down to where the parking lot is on the Bunker Hill Avenue side. So they're really going to change the whole front look. So, and then I think when you come out, if you came out of the Kmart and you look to your left, there's going to be some handicap parking is going to be put over that way. So I think it's going to change the face of that. And I think what the Bartons were saying is once they finish that, now I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but whatever the look is that's going to happen at that Kmart front is going to probably carry its way up through where the Chinese restaurant is and where the package store is, and up where the restaurant is up top, up by towards Le Bon's. So they did say some year, it's going to take some time to do that, but I think it'll give it a more uniform look in some point in the future. So it may give you the Kmart look. Will give you an idea of what's going to happen with the rest of the plaza. I think that's important too. So
Each of the stores will have an outside door. So it's built now. They're planning on 6 tenants, 3 large and 3 small. One of them as small as 1,000 square feet. I think it's going to be a Chinese takeout restaurant. I'm not sure what it is going to be. But so there won't be one main entrance, so they have to go in and then split into other stores. They'll each have their separate entrance outside. And the signage will be an issue. They'll have to take up the planning and zoning.
it's just such an interesting space. Even if a restaurant or something went all the way to the right side when you're looking at the building, that whole huge alleyway or whatever could be such a cool outdoor dining space. I just feel like there's a lot that they can do over there. So that's great that they're splitting that.
Well, I think that, Robbie, I don't know if you know this or not, but the old Litchfield jail? They just redid the whole thing up in the center of Litchfield.
Yep.
The Bartons own that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did an amazing job with the way that they just renovated that whole thing.
Yeah, and they have that porch dining that overlook the Litchfield Green.
Yeah, that's on top, and then below are like shops and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I don't know what the deal is with the landlord, with the Bartons, whether they could put another restaurant in there or not. Whether Rizvani's, I think is the name of the place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether they in their lease has a non-compete that you couldn't put another restaurant in there. I don't know. But they were talking about one of them being a fast food, not a Wendy's or anything, but a 1,000 square foot takeout only restaurant is one of them. So I guess that wouldn't conflict with Rizvani, which is Italian, I guess.
Okay. All right. So on old and unfinished item D is that CERC marketing proposal. So we're just going to stand by on that one. Again, I think it's worthwhile for the commission to fight for that money. It's $15,000, and I think it's worth its weight in gold, given the climate of business and the potential for business moving into Watertown. So, and I think Tom Hill has actually talked to Joe about several pieces of property in town that he's trying to get going. So he looks like he's pretty anxious to sell some stuff in town also. So that's good to have someone that's sort of advocating for Watertown a little bit on the real estate side. So.
Yeah, he had some personal health problems, pretty serious, that now have resolved themselves. So he's really back at it hard now, and he's also pushing the I think it's 4 or 6 acres at the corner of Echo Lake and Buckingham.
Right.
Across from Uncommon Grill there, across from the new medical building. He's got that property listed. He's actively trying to find somebody to buy that. So.
You mentioned Uncommon Grill. I'll just say people are going nuts. I don't know if anybody's heard of their to-go drinks.
No, oh, they're doing that now?
They were like one of the first ones to start it. They're like pouches,
Oh.
almost like Capri Sun from back in the day.
Wow.
Juice
But
Doing it too.
they're alcoholic, and there was so many of my friends that I have that live in Mount Fair Farm that were just walking there with their parents or somebody to go get them. I feel like it's probably a moneymaker for them. They're like $12 each and stuff, so
Wow.
they're probably doing good.
Yeah.
They-
I know.
they're doing-
I'm sorry.
They're doing a hell of a takeout business. I mean, I drove through the parking lot one night and there were like 6 cars. It was slightly after dark, so they still had their headlights on. And one of them had the hatchback open, so I think they were just waiting for takeout orders. And while I was there, cars came in and out. I don't know how the other restaurants are doing, but they look like they're doing okay on the takeout. I mean, not as well as they would, but
I mean, it seems like everybody's doing pretty well. Like whenever I go to, I've tried to kind of split up my time. I don't know about you guys about where to spend my dollars. But I've been trying to get stuff from like Mario's, from Rizvani's, from Golden Palace, the Thai place, all that stuff. And there's always like a ton of people waiting with me. We're all separated and waiting for our number, but there's a lot of people that are still ordering, which is great.
You gotta keep these small businesses afloat,
Yeah.
we're looking
Matter of fact-
forward. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say to Robbie's point, I was reading an article about New York City that all the people were taking drinks out of bars and restaurants there. And the proviso there is they can sell those drinks with food. So what the owners of some of the bars were doing, they were selling the booze and give you a free chocolate chip cookie. Go with it.
No, it's food.
Yeah, you got the food, so you can drink. So.
I personally am looking forward to June 1 and then later when restaurants can open inside dining again. I don't know how many of them are going to survive. I mean,
That's June 1st?
well, late in June, I think.
Oh, that's what the 20th, right?
Yeah, 20th. Yeah, I think it's the 20th.
It's 20th of June. Yeah, June 1, barbers and some other things. And as I say, I think this building is going to be open to the public June 1. There'll be some of the gradual opening, but the full-scale restaurant is farther down the line in June 20 probably. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who would go. I don't know.
Are we keeping a running tab of any of the sorry, I know this is way off topic, but are we keeping any a running tab of the businesses that are closing or are? I've only seen a couple, but I didn't know if we had like a list going or anything just to be aware of what's happening in town.
We might have more spaces open for other, if somebody else wants to go in there. Just what it is,
Yeah, could be. As in my drive around the town, I check when something is clearly closed and they have a sign on the door. I make a note of that, but I've not done a formal. And there's no reason for them to have to check in with me or with the town when they leave or when somebody else comes in, they would have to go to planning and zoning. But.
Right.
Yep. But it's a good point, Rob. What you should do is, if anybody knows of this that's happening, give Joe some feedback. Just shoot him an email, and maybe we can keep an informal list that way.
Just to be aware in case anybody asks us or they want some sort of review of how Watertown is doing economically post COVID restrictions and all that. I've only seen that. What is it? It's like a used car lot, I guess, across from Manja.
Oh yeah, but that was going to close for a while. That's been in the works of closing for a while. That's not a victim of the COVID.
I figured because it was so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing I've really seen that's different.
I was gonna say we have some type of list.
By the local post office. That's closing, I think. the barber shop next to the Oakville post office. Saw a
South?
sign for rent
Oh,
or
yeah,
lease.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Across the
Yeah.
street.
Dr. Zarsty's building, Joe.
I think that
The
one's closed.
barber on the first floor there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the barber went
yeah, right
bankrupt.
next to the post.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I thought she had told my daughter at one time she was looking forward to moving down south. So I don't know if that's the reason why she closed, or did she go out of business because of the virus? I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I know my daughter brought my granddaughter there, and for a haircut. And she mentioned to her she was looking to go North or South Carolina. So again, I don't know if that has anything to do with this situation right now, but I know there was some talk of her moving anyway.
Yeah, before the COVID, she had indicated to the landlord, who I know, that she was declaring bankruptcy.
Oh,
So she's definitely out if she declares bankruptcy.
Yeah.
I will,
Hey, Joe.
yes,
It's Anthony DeBona. I'm on too. How is everyone? I hope everyone's safe.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
Good, good.
Hey.
Question on the circa expenditure. I thought we already approved that. That is, the town council already approved it.
well, it's currently in the budget. I was just raising an issue that unless you guys go back for a series of serious cuts, then it is in the budget and has been approved. I mean, the budget hasn't approved by the
No,
town.
I mean
Yeah.
in last year's budget.
No, you're right, Tony. What you approved last year was for the Sealy property.
Okay.
This one here was in the budget.
15,000?
It was 15,000. This one was in the budget for this coming year, and this had to do with marketing, doing a marketing
Okay.
proposal of all the vacant lands in town.
Okay.
Echo Lake Road Extension, and also whatever was available on Commercial Street, and also on within the industrial park itself. So
Okay.
we want CERC had a proposal that they could market that nationwide for us. And that's why we thought it was probably a good thing to do that. And right now, especially as we talked earlier about a lot of businesses potentially moving back into the United States, it'd be nice to let everyone know we have this property available.
Yeah, I see that it's not in the budget. It was taken out of the budget for 20 and 21 in the proposed budget. I'm just, I'm looking at that. The town manager recommended that it be removed.
Oh,
So
we didn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
As far as we knew, it was still in.
It appears to me that it's not in.
Okay.
But
Oh,
can
yeah.
you just, Joe, can you just confirm that?
I will check on it Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, because we'd like to have it in there. That was part of my thinking and my earlier comments about, cuttable items. So we'll see. Somebody's getting a phone call.
That was me. I just,
All right. Under new business, we've been talking about this virus impact. So I think we've sort of got ahead of ourselves there a little bit. But I don't know if anybody has any other comments about the town or anything they'd like to share about the virus impact of town, or if they know anything specifically that maybe is known to them personally, but not known to Joe Sechrist or myself.
One of the things that concerns me for the town is we deferred the taxes for 90 days. And if people don't plan ahead, that means that in October, they're going to have their town tax bill. And then in January, they're going to have another town tax bill. So deferring doesn't mean forgiving. So if they defer that's going to be a hell of a hit. In my case, it would be $12,000, $6,000 each time. And unless people are still employed and have money in the bank, I just have this gut feeling, and Tony, you might be able to speak to this better. I have this gut feeling that town revenue is going to take a hit. from people who just flat can't pay their taxes even October 1. And then,
Yeah, I
Then we'll
think you
have
make a good point. Yeah, you definitely make a good point there.
and then we'll have to do what we have to do. I mean, policemen, firemen, whatever, teachers. I mean, if the revenue is not coming in, then the town council and the town manager is going to have to come to some conclusion about what are we going to do with reduced revenue. Now, the good news is July 1, the mortgage companies that escrow for their town taxes, that has to be paid July 1. And my understanding, talking to Sue Zappone, is that's a significant chunk of change. So July 1, we will get a nice hit of taxes from the mortgage companies if your rent is built into your mortgage payment. They have to make those payments on July 1. But I assume most other people are going to take the full 90 days. I hope they don't. But I think most people are going to take the full 90 days to pay it. So we'll see.
Right.
Okay. Anybody have anything else to add to?
I think maybe just from like an economic development standpoint, just because we're so involved with businesses and everything, if we want to talk about maybe I know there's a lot of towns that are kind of doing like the great takeout, and then they're listing all the restaurants that are like still doing takeout and all that kind of stuff, just as like a little promotional thing, and then they ask everybody to order takeout or something like that. I don't know if we want to do any kind of promotional things just to boost those businesses also.
Well, we do have that Excel spreadsheet of restaurants that are open, but again, that's not commonly available. You got to go on the town website and then go on to COVID-19 to get at it. So it's not easy to get at. I've expressed my personal frustrations with John Gavalis about feeling reasonably powerless in all of this because we don't have the budget to give financial incentives, tax incentives. Joe McGrail and I had talked about the possibility of tax incentives for businesses, but that's another hit to revenue, and I don't think that the town council is going to be. Tony, you can probably speak to that whether they would want to give additional tax incentives because those are also. Well, the incentive is deferred for a couple of years, but then they got to pay the full thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It's a difficult time right now. I know that from my perspective, I really don't want to see a mill rate increase at this time. And the town council has expressed that. That is, Tom Wynn has expressed that, but it's difficult balancing act here because we have necessary functions of the town, but at the same time, we know that people are in difficult circumstances. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I had already sent a note to Kathleen Ramo and asked her this question, actually specifically, if the town was in a position we could make any offers to any businesses. And Joe and I both knew the answer, but I didn't want to assume the answer. So she did come back to us and came back to me, and I shared it with Joe that, the town is in no shape to be given any kinds of loans or grants or anything at this point. And Tony just said the same thing. So, if times were different, if things were different, but we're just not in a financial position to be able to do that.
And Joe and I had talked about maybe taking an ad in the Town Times saying that we're supporting businesses and order takeout and buy locally. That's something we could do, I guess.
Yeah, we still have time to do that because the budget, we have until June 30th. So maybe we could do something right after Memorial Day. We're not going to waste money. I mean, if it costs us a few $100s to take out an ad in the Town Times just to promote local businesses, maybe not give individual names of businesses, but just talk in a general theme, buy local, the businesses in town really need your support at this time, and something along those lines, because it would be hard to pick and choose what businesses would actually go on that list of on the list we would put in the Town Times. So I think you just talk at it at a high level and do it that way.
We had some money in special programs, and if we didn't have the COVID, we probably could have had a meet and greet, or put on some sort of a function where each restaurant could have brought a sample of their food or something. But the social gathering, you can't have more than, they're probably going to end up with max of 50, even late in June. So it's without COVID, we could have done something like that, a trial food court, to have each restaurant have a booth somewhere and sample their food. But we can't do that because of the congregation piece.
But Joe, maybe what we could do, Joe, after Memorial Day, maybe what we can do is let's talk about it, and then we'll send a note out. Robbie will send a note to everybody in the commission of just to get some ideas of what we might be able to do. We'll take out a half a page or something in Town Times. We'll find out what the cost of that'll be, and let's just see where that takes us.
And I'm willing to do I'm willing to take on any projects. If we do need to do any kind of compilation of businesses or any of that kind of stuff for our website, I'll call up every business and ask them or to look at their website and figure it out. You know what I mean? I'll do that if we want to create our own running list of businesses, just to give some sort of support. I don't know, because we're, like you said, we're pretty limited during this time of what we can offer everybody. So anything helps, I think.
Right.
Well, if you'd be willing to do that, and we got a list together, we could include that with the ad in the Town Times. Now, the problem with that is we may exclude somebody, and as the town representative, we'll get accused of being discriminatory and all that. So we have to basically have an all or nothing list, or as close as we can get. I'm not terribly worried about people being. I wouldn't let the perfect be the obstacle to a good idea. And maybe we could ask them, Robbie, somehow. I have a list of all the businesses in town. I have all their emails. I could probably send. I just bought an email list for $150 of all the businesses in town. I just got that last week. So I can probably.
I can even work with you on creating like a Google form or something like that if people do want to be added to the list. That way you leave it up to them, and the onus is on them, kind of thing, that you don't have to like blame for keeping them off that list. I could come up with something like that for you too if you want.
Well, we do have the Google form for restaurants that are open, but again, it's not easy to get to.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another way we can publicize it other than on the town website, which is not easy to find.
I hope that this is a selling point for them to realize how much we really do need our website upgraded.
That is a key to me. I was talking to Joe McGrail the other day, saying if we had a really updated website, I could go on there and post a whole lot of things, like the new outdoor dining rules. That executive order is posted on our website, but you got to go to the website, you got to go to COVID-19, you got to go to business, and then there are 4 or 5 links there, and you got to figure out which link it is to find those. And I agree with you, Robbie. I think our focus now that I've frankly not paid as much attention to in the past is I think we now need to devote some dollars to, and I don't think it's terribly expensive. I think we have $1,000 in the budget for a website anyway, to get somebody to develop a real interactive website for us. and Mike Simmons, who has left the room right now, but he's our IT guy. And I think we can just do it with, you go to the Park and Rec, for instance, you go to the town website, you go to Park and Rec, and they have a link there to their own website. And so if we could develop a better interactive website that we can use, I think that's a priority for us in the near future, but that's my feeling. For you guys, I say us, I'm not on a commission.
There you are.
No, I agree. And John Gavalis is really good with that. I think it was under him that their website was redone, the police department's old website, and he was really good about getting them on social media and everything. So hopefully he would be in our corner.
I think it would be.
In general, the whole town website eventually, but yeah.
There's, I see here on the budget, from last year there was 1,000, and the recommended budget for 2021 has another 1,000. So,
Good.
and that was not removed.
Good.
Okay.
Because sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, I'm all set. I just want to mention that.
Yeah, we talked with a fellow who designs websites. Joe, I think he was up in Wolcott.
Wolcott, yeah.
And he thought he could probably design something for us for $1,000 or less. So the issue is going to be, once we agree to do it, then we've got to all agree what we want on it. You know, what it's going to have to look like. And designing a website by committee is not always the easiest way to do it, but those things can all be worked out.
But I think he did say that he had designed other websites for economic development purposes.
Yeah.
And so he could give us his portfolio and we could choose, you know, what we think is most appropriate for Watertown. So it's not, certainly in this day and age, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just sort of copy other people's format if it fits yours. I mean, if you have to design something unique, then you do it, but you try not to do that, I guess.
We work with, for my business, we do a lot of consultation with just different associations and everything. So there's all these different kinds of website companies that focus on, you know, associations, member-oriented things, governmental, whatever. So there's so many templates out there already that I think when we redid our website, or when we did our website the first time, it's probably the same since. You were building it from scratch. It was such a complicated thing. I think everyone's still thinking about that, but it's so easy. It's user friendly now. It's I literally just built 3 different websites in the past 2 months, so we should be able to do it. It'll be good.
Okay.
Well, we can use your expertise if you designed them, Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so easy when it comes down to all these templates, and I mean, there's so many companies now. You could literally have, you know, choose from like 50 different templates for a governmental website, or even economic development probably has 1 million. So yeah, any way I could help.
This is one of those cases where something really is better than nothing, because the website we have now, I checked back, it's minimally 10 years old, and it was done by a couple of guys who we were using QSend then, and they didn't want to work with QSend. So that particular website nobody is still here who knows how to change it.
Right.
So we need to really scrub the whole freaking thing and start over again. And I think there's no better time than now. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 2 more items left under new business. Item B, outside dining, which we talked about a little bit already. And again, you know, I think kudos to the town, kudos to Joe and John Gavalis and Mark Massoud and Ray, everyone that got involved in this. So I think they did a great job, and I was really amazed to see, because I knew some of the stuff was in the process, but then just a few short days later, I started seeing tables being put outside and umbrellas on tables, and things happening pretty quick. So And so I'm glad, P&Z, let all this happen, and John Gavalis was able to write that edict that avoided these restaurants having to go to P&Z and have a public hearing and everything else that would have went with it. So it was really remarkable. I mean, the only other thing I can compare it to is that time when we did the prime engineering, when we got that piece of land sold and things were up and running in over a really short period of time. So this is from a town perspective, and not just Watertown, but I think any town USA that could move that quickly and get things done is pretty remarkable. So I gotta believe that the restaurant industry in Watertown is pretty happy with the town right now on how quickly they were able to make these changes and modifications in their ordinances to make this happen. So kudos to everybody that was involved. And again, John Gavalis, I know, was a big driving fact here, and I'm sure glad he was on board with us on this COVID thing. So.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier, but Mark told me he's had over 12 approvals so far. So that surprised me a little bit, because I didn't think that many restaurants would be interested in serving outside, but it was a very pleasant surprise. So.
And I saw Fino has a pretty nice outside patio there. Saw a picture of it on Facebook. I mean, I didn't even know that was back there, but it was pretty good. I gotta say that for him.
What restaurant was that, Joe?
Fino's.
Okay, yeah.
I guess there's a back room there. Rob, you know more about it than me, so.
Yeah, you can see like whatever that building was where they used to do the like fake break-ins and self-defense.
Oh yeah.
So in between, like, it's an alleyway basically, but they were able to make a really cool outdoor space back there that's like separated. You have to walk, I think, just like down through the side. There were stairs on the left side and the kitchen was on the right. So you just have to kind of walk on that left side of the building, I think, to get down to it. But yeah, no, there's places, they just did that last year too. I think they just opened it. And G's Burgers, I know they did something really cool. They did like a whole side takeout window.
Yeah, 2 windows, one for ice cream and one for food. So.
Because they were closed. They had shut
down. They were closed, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Roma has asked permission to use their parking lot. Yeah, that raises other planning and zoning issues about parking, but all those things are positively put on hold. That issues we can deal with later. Get the restaurant up and running and let people find parking. And if they're parking, that's a manageable problem, because they're going to have to use part of their parking lot for their outside dining.
Right.
And I do think the public has to be patient with this thing too. If somebody has a complaint about it, hey, we're talking about maybe to the middle of October, given the weather in New England. So it's not going to be there forever. And, and this is going to probably be the survival of these businesses. I mean, there's no way you can, that little front porch on Roma's, there's no way they're going to pay the bills with that little front porch unless they can go do things on the side parking lot. So, again, but kudos to all those that were involved. So.
I had had a discussion with Mark about tents, because outdoor dining on a rainy day is not going to work. And he thought temporarily tents would not be an issue if they wanted to put up a tent, if they had the room and the space. It normally wouldn't have been allowed under zoning. But I noticed the Hawk Ridge Winery is now going to open as of today for outside, and they've got their tent, and I think they built a pavilion already. I think I saw a picture of a pavilion out there. They had asked planning and zoning and got approval to build a permanent pavilion out there. So, well.
Okay. And the last thing I had here was, I don't know if people know, but the Kia dealership was approved. Was the old Hiley building in front of the assisted living. So it's going to be a small Kia dealership. And I know they had some modifications to the zoning rules, because it's a pretty small lot, but it was approved, and it's going to be, it's actually part of Blasius Auto Group. And so I'm sure we're going to see some activity there in the not too distant future.
The assisted living people raised a mild, not a formal complaint, a mild concern. And the Kia dealership has agreed to plant some trees as a buffer, so the assisted living won't look out on a used car lot. So.
Okay. Oh, there was one other item. Item D was their plan addition. I think they're going to put up, what, Joe, 15,000 square feet?
Oh, wow.
No, I think it's 45,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe that was office space. Okay. Okay.
It's a 3-story building, a basement and two floors.
Okay.
On their current building. So the weed business is a good business.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they must be anticipating Connecticut passing that law here, maybe this year or early next year. So I'm sure that's what they're anticipating. So, and they're probably just ramping up ahead of time. So.
And planning and zoning approved it, so they got all their approvals very quickly.
I have a feeling that that's going to get passed everywhere because people are going to be trying to figure out where to make up some of the difference from all these losses.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Robbie, I don't know if I ever told you my story about that in Massachusetts. So there's in Great Barrington, there's a chocolate place that some of my family have gone to, and
Yep.
Catherine's Chocolate was the name of it. So we went up there for chocolate, and then so we started heading north on Route 7, and all of a sudden I looked to my right, and I said to my wife, I said, "Geez, this must be a hell of a restaurant. Look at these people in line." Or it's ice cream, or I don't know what the hell they're doing, right? So as we're driving by, I look over, and it's wellness therapy or therapeutic or something like that. It was a marijuana facility. And there must have been, without any exaggeration, 50 or 75 people.
Right next to
What?
McDonald's.
Well, yeah, exactly, Teddy. Yep.
Right next to McDonald's.
Yeah, yep. So
The other one in Lee is next to Dunkin' Donuts.
you know them all, Teddy. You're
Yeah.
quite the man. So,
that's right.
I can tell you. Hey, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Anybody know what's going on with St. Mary?
With who?
St. Mary's, where they're building?
no, we haven't been able to
St.
confirm
Mary's,
that, Teddy.
urgent care.
Yeah, we haven't been able to confirm anything yet. There was some rumors around that they had bought a piece of property and they were going to break ground, but given the impact of this virus has had on the medical industry, I know all the hospitals seem to be in tough shape right now because they weren't able to do elective surgeries.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's going to be pushed down the road a little bit, but yeah, we haven't been able to find out much about that, Teddy. But we're still looking. I know Joe hasn't. We've been a little bit sheepish about calling Corey Shaker on that property because last time Joe called him, I think 3 or 4 people called him over a short period of time, and he was a little bit annoyed that so many people were calling. So we're sort of laying back a little bit. We'll figure it out though.
Thank you.
All right, I think that wraps up the meeting. If anybody has any last comments, or otherwise, we're in for the record books here. Our first virtual meeting. Hopefully our last. Maybe we can meet in person next time.
Hopefully.
Do we need a
Good.
do we need a motion?
Not if you just hit the button.
Yeah, I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right.
Who is that?
Motion's-
Who is that?
Even-
Is it Robbie?
Steve made it. I think Steve made it second.
Thank you.
All right,
Steve.
guys. Thank you so much for joining in, and we'll see you soon. Take it easy.
Thank you,
All right.
Chris.
Good
Okay.
night.
Bye-bye. Okay. Good night.
We're all done here.
Okay.
All right, thanks, you guys.
All right, Joe.
I gotta figure.
I'll talk
I
to you
gotta
tomorrow.
figure. Okay, I'm not gonna be here tomorrow, but you can call me on my cell phone.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I don't know how to turn this thing off, Mike.
Hit the X on the top.
Hit the X up the top?
Way over to the right,
Okay, I think I've got it.
and it'll say ending.
Okay.
call.
See you later.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your help.
He said, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, oh, thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Talk to you
guys.
soon. Okay. All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
End webinar for all?
Yep.
Okay. Are you sure you want to end the webinar? Yes.